Okay, and I'll turn the lights down a bit because, there we go. How's that? That's better, isn't it? Can everyone see the screen? That's the important thing. Oh, good. Okay. Right. So, I'm going to talk about some things happening in the November sky, and with one particular event coming up next Monday. So, first of all, I'll talk about some other things. International Space Station. We're at the tail end of a whole bunch of morning passes of the space station now, and really that's the sort of rag end of it. If you want to see the space station urgently, then 20 past 6 in the morning seems okay. Yeah, 20 past 6 in the morning. That's yesterday. Tomorrow. Tomorrow morning is about your best chance, and then they sort of fade away. And then there's a whole bunch of evening passes, nicely early in the evening, thanks to the clock change and stuff. From the 24th of November through to the 12th of December. So if you want to see the space station, that's the time to be doing it. We'll talk about the sun. There is nothing again to be seen on the sun. So there we are. We're into this thing now where 74% of days so far this year have been spotless. And that's actually more than we actually got at the last solar minimum in 2008-2009, where there were 73% and 71% of days were spotless. We've gone through the whole Maxima thing where there were no spotless days for nearly 5 years, give or take a couple of days there. And then things have been declining since 2016, and we're now into 74% of days so far. There was a little spot a couple of weeks ago, and that's why there's only a 1 day. In fact, I did this Monday, so there's been 1 day without sunspots since Sunday, but there is nothing on at the minute. Neither is there much in the way of coronal holes, so don't really be expecting too much in the way of auroras at the minute. So the sun is very inactive. However, things will change a little bit on Monday because there will be a sunspot of sorts on Monday, guaranteed. And this is why it happens. Now, the solar system is more or less flat, give or take a little bit, and it's the little bit that's important here. The planets go round in roughly the same sort of plane, but not quite. And compared to the Earth, here's Mercury's orbit, here's the Earth's orbit. Mercury orbits inside the Earth, as does Venus. And just every now and then, every sort of few years or so, the three heavenly bodies line up. And because of the way this orbit of Mercury is tipped, they're about 7 degrees relative to the Earth. Those can only line up in May or in November. And this time it's November. Last time we had a very good apparition, 2016, May the 9th, 2016. We were all out of the front here in front of Queen's, and we got a nice sunny day for the most part, and we saw pretty much all of the Mercury transit that time. This one is a lot harder because it's in November, and therefore the sun is much lower in the sky. So here we are. We'll see how that works. Here's the upcoming transits of Mercury. Monday, the 11th of November 2019. If you look at this little map here, I'll show you a bigger version in a moment. You can see that it's visible in this area here, which includes us. If you miss it on Monday, and the weather forecast is kind of 50-50 at the minute, there's another opportunity on the 13th of November 2032. That again obviously is a November one, and therefore the sun will be quite low in the sky. If you really want to see a May apparition, 2049 is your next chance. If you want to see a Venus transit, they're much more spectacular. There was one of those in 2004, which I did see. There was one in 2012, which I did not see because I was completely clouded out on the east coast of Northern Ireland. I was in Yorkshire for the 2004 one, just after a huge thunderstorm, in fact. If you really want to see a Venus transit, I'm afraid probably most people here are out of luck. It's in 98 years' time. Medical miracles aside, of course. So most of these are November, except for the 2049 7th of May one. Put that date in your diary, because that'll be much higher up in the sky and easier to see. So this is what's happening on Monday. The transit is visible in its entirety, in its whole, about 5 or 6 hours long, in this area here. So you really want to be in South America or East Coast of the United States would do, Newfoundland, whatever, or just a little bit of Africa. We are not, of course, in that area. We are here, and we're in between the area where you can see none of it. Australia, China, India, they get nothing here. They miss the whole thing. It's night time for them during the whole event. Here, we do see some of it. In fact, we get about 3 or 4 hours of it, and the sun sets with Mercury still moving across it. So let's have a look at the times specifically. This is the Belfast Times. First contact is 12:35 on Monday. That's when Mercury touches the sun's edge. And that will be in the southern sky, just a little bit west of south, 187 degrees. But the sun's altitude will be 17.8 degrees from Belfast. That's not very high at all. That's just if you hold your hand out sort of like that, it's that sort of height in the sky. Not terribly easy to see. That will continue at 3:20, looking exactly southwest. That's 225 degrees there. But the sun will have gone down to 7 degrees in height in the sky. So getting pretty close towards sunset there. That is when Mercury will be nearest the sun's centre. That's not terribly significant really, but you'll see the sun, the Mercury move across the sun from 12:37 onwards. Actual sunset, given a perfect horizon, which you don't have, will be 16:27, and that'll be 239 degrees, slightly west of southwest. That is when the sun sets, and we miss everything. So there we go. So here's a view approximately from our observing site up on Divis Mountain. And that is the height the sun will be at the beginning of, I think, 12:37, at the beginning of the event. Venus is there, actually. If you might be able to see Venus if you know exactly where to point a telescope. But that's that. What you will see, that is 12:40. That is the tiny disk of Mercury going across the sun. Now, I'll tell you a thing or two about this. Mercury really is very, very small. If you were thinking of looking at this through eclipse eyeglasses, doesn't work. It's too small. If you were thinking of projecting this inside a shoebox, that doesn't work either because the image is too small. You do actually need some sort of magnification, and this is where it gets dangerous. You need a properly solar filtered telescope or a specially designed solar telescope. Baco foil doesn't work, CDs don't work, all the sorts of other things. I'll tell you a story actually about the 1999 eclipse, just a little story at my expense that I do love telling. That's that I had eclipse glasses, and of course I realised that my eclipse glass didn't cover the front of my telephoto lens. So I thought, I know, I'll be clever and cut it up and stick it to the back of my telephoto lens. And then did a test shot of the sun, and I was looking through the viewfinder of my camera and watched a fire take place inside the mirror box and threw it all away, thought, no, this is a bad job, just watch it. So that's why I have no pictures of the 1999 eclipse. So come with us up to Divis Mountain, we'll have the right kit there. And you can watch it safely through telescopes. This is just to give you an idea of what to see. This is one I took out the front here last time, 2016, and it was taken through a very good telescope. In fact, it was Danny's refractor there. And the good thing about 2016, which you probably won't get on Monday, is we had sunspots as well. And here's sunspots. Not many because it was 2016, a bit past the maximum. And there's Mercury, and I think you can see even here on this screen that the black of Mercury is much blacker than the black of sunspots. I was quite surprised how amazing that contrast is. You start to realise that sunspots aren't really all that dark at all compared to the blackness of the dot of Mercury there. That was one there. This is an animation of what we might see on Monday. I'm not sure how well this is going to show on the screen, but it's a thing that, for some reason, Stellarium gives you a fabulous spotty sun, which is completely wrong. They haven't obviously programmed the the solar cycle into it. But this will get started in a minute. We're up at 12:36, 37 here, so we should see Mercury appear. Here it is. Yeah. See it there? That's Mercury appearing there. I'll speed it up in a moment. There, I'll sped it up, and it comes streaking across here. This is 1400, 1430, 1450, 3 o'clock. I'll remove this back to its center position. For some reason, the sun moves a little bit, even when you're locked onto it. We lost it there. Now then, where is it? It's in there somewhere. And then what happens next is the sun goes below the horizon, and that's the end of that, even though it's still going on. And if you want to see that again, 13th November 2032 is your next opportunity. So that's the Mercury transit. There we go. Now then, one of the things I sort of realized when I was just looking at this on a star map, I was wondering what happened to all the planets, and they've gone. I did point out last time, I think, that the only planets you could reasonably observe in the night sky at the moment were Uranus and Neptune. And the thing is, the planets are all the other side of the sun at this moment. We're all in the same vicinity as the sun. So what I did here, this is a picture, actually, it's the day before the transit. And it just illustrates where the planets are. I've taken the daylight and I've taken the stars out of it. So we have the planets here. Here's the sun. Right by the sun there is Mercury. Just a little bit that way Venus, a little bit that way Mars, Jupiter and Saturn. Of all those, you can just see Saturn very low in the evening sky. It's kind of gone now, I think. Saturn and Jupiter were visible for a little while, but they're getting closer. Venus is emerging. So Venus will next month be visible after sunset in the evening sky. Mars is visible early in the morning. If you really want to get up early in the morning to see Mars, then a good eastern horizon, and look where the sun is about to come up about an hour or so before, and you can see Mars. But that's where the planets. That's why there are no observable planets in the night sky at the moment, because they're all in the same part of the sky as the sun. Here's one other heavenly body you can pick out. This is Taurus. Whoops. I think I pressed the wrong button there. I did, yeah. Right. There. This is Taurus and the Hyades. Yeah, Aldebaran, there's the Seven Sisters just off the edge there. You can see asteroid Vesta at the moment. Asteroid 4 Vesta. Its magnitude is 6.5, so it's actually not that hard to find in even binoculars or a small telescope. You sort of follow the arrow of the V of Taurus here towards the star Menkar in Cetus there. About 2/3 of the way you'll see 2 stars, and Vesta is just next to one of those there. That's roughly where you'll find that. And this, you can tell winter's coming now, because not too late in the evening, this is 10 o'clock in the evening, Orion is coming up. And we're starting to see those winter constellations, Orion, Taurus above it, Seven Sisters above that. Just on that subject, my one last thing for you. I was sent a photograph by Adam Jeff. Is Adam here? Oh, Adam, hi. This is rather splendid, I think. This is, considering that was taken from Cookstown, I think that's absolutely fantastic, actually. This is the star Alnitak. So that is the lower of the 3 stars in Orion's belt. And next to Alnitak, we have this here, which is the Flame Nebula. And along a little bit, this is towards the bottom of Orion, towards Rigel, and so this is the Horsehead Nebula. And that's we're looking at many hours of time. I think, Adam, are we looking at 5 colours there? And is there an HA in there as well? No? Okay, all right, so that's 4 colours. Okay, so that's a fantastic bit of work, and it was taken from Cookstown, and really I'm sort of now looking at property in the Cookstown area so I can take pictures like that. So that's all I have to say about the skies. Thank you very much.